So why did I say that it's impossible to elect a third party as a president? And is that really an insane statement like this person seems to think that it is? Well, let me walk you through the math. So for the presidential vote, there are a lot of problems. Most of them stem from the electoral college. Now, ignoring that almost every state is a winner-take-all state, which definitely interferes with this process, let's talk about the 270 rule. So in the 270 rule, a presidential candidate will have to get 270 points from the electoral college to win the presidency. And that 270 is not just a random number, it's just above half of the total volume of electors. Which means for starters, the winning candidate will have to get at least half of the electoral college votes in order to win the presidency. If there are only two candidates, then this rule is pretty obvious, but if there are three, that complicates things. Because the candidate that wins the electoral college, since they have to reach 50% of the electoral votes, the remaining candidates have to share that 50%. So it's not just about whether or not a candidate can get more votes or even more electoral college votes. It's about whether a third-party candidate can get more than the total amount of votes that Democrats and Republicans have combined. Now, according to the Pew Research Center, only about 1 in 4 Americans have unfavorable views of both Biden and Trump. And depending on which study you look at when it comes to Donald Trump, about 41% of his supporters support him so much that they don't think he did anything wrong. And amongst Republicans, Donald Trump had an 82% approval rating when he left office. It's safe to say that even if a very popular third-party candidate was running, that Donald Trump would still get so many votes from his supporters that he and Biden combined would not be under 50%. So already mathematically it's impossible, but that's not the end of it. There's more to this. I made a calculator where you can put the percentage of Democrats and Republicans and non-voters that switch to a third-party vote. And then it does the math in every single state. And the thing is, because of the way the Electoral College works, even if over a third of each voter base switch to a third party, because of the way the Electoral College works, the third party still wouldn't receive a third of the electoral votes. Even though they received well above a third in the popular vote, they only get 94 Electoral College points. In fact, even if they win the popular vote, then they still don't get more Electoral College points than the other two. So right off the bat, this is not an insane statement. Mathematically, when you look at how many Trump supporters there are and their inability to vote for anybody that's not Donald Trump, and then when you start estimating how many liberals there are that refuse to vote third party, not just because of the politics of that third party candidate, but also the risk of throwing away their vote, it's already impossible for a third-party candidate to even get 50% of the overall vote. And of course, my spreadsheet is free. You can play around with it. You can download it, put in your own numbers, and see for yourself how it works out. Or you can go and do the math yourself. Either way, it does not matter. It is impossible already for a third party to get to the presidency, but we're not done yet. We haven't covered what a situation like this would look like. In this situation, third parties get more electoral college votes than the other two parties. However, they still don't get to 270. So what happens then? The next step is an election within the House of Representatives. It would be 1 vote per state, but still the House of Representatives has 0 independent candidates. Which means if that third-party candidate doesn't receive 270 votes, which they can't, but they do win the Electoral College, they still don't get the presidency. And it doesn't go to the popular vote, it goes to a bunch of Democrats and Republicans to decide. And they are not going to choose that third party. So again, that makes it mathematically impossible as well. Even if they got to this point, there are no third-party candidates in the House of Representatives to vote for them. But I'll do you one better. Let's say there are a bunch of candidates in the House of Representatives, and this still happens. They probably wouldn't even make it to that point if they don't have a lot of support by third-party representatives in each state. Because only about half the states have laws requiring electoral votes to go to the popular vote winner in that state. Which means if the chosen delegates in every state are not supporters of third-party candidates, they don't have to cast that third-party vote at the Electoral College. Which means even if this happens, or even better, even if a third party got to 270 votes, the delegates from every state who are not supported by third parties would likely vote against them. So quickly, to wrap things up, a third-party president would have to get half of the electoral college votes, which means Biden and Trump would have to share the remaining 50%, and they have so many supporters that mathematically they are going to get more than 50%. But even if that wasn't true and they got less than 50% of the vote, they would still have more than 50% of the electoral college because that's how the math works. And even if that wasn't true and somehow that was possible, it's still impossible for the third-party candidate to get 270 electoral votes. But even saying that wasn't impossible, if they found a way to get 270 electoral votes, then the delegates from every state could still change their vote and get a Democrat or Republican in, which they are very likely to because there is no third-party support within the states. And would you believe that we didn't cover all of it? There are even more reasons why a third party is impossible as a presidential candidate in the United States. I just ran out of time. So if you want to, you can come to my channel and say that I made an insane statement, but I back up everything I say with math, and I would like to see some of yours.